listeners. It's me with your favourite non-too-forensic X-Files podcast, the one where we speak to creative people about what they do, what they think, and all things strange, peculiar in the 90s. I'm currently in the boot of someone's car. Don't really remember too much about the last couple of hours. Can't really move too much either because my hands are tied, but I've managed to get the gag out of my mouth to be able to record this intro. I hope you're faring better than me. The Edinburgh Fringe has started, so, lots to see and do here. If you get a chance to make it up to Edinburgh this year, do check out former guest of the podcast, Stuart Law's show. That's called Stuart Law's Has to Be Joking. That's on at Monkey Barrel Hive, 4:40 every day. And I have to say, it's his filthiest show yet. Olympics are on at the moment too. Regular listeners of this podcast will know I don't have much of a sporting bone in my body. So I'm enjoying all the newer sports in there, such as breaking and BMX. Also great to see the metal band Gojira making an appearance at the opening ceremony. Hung out of her chateau window, backed by a beheaded Marie Antoinette. Sadly, I won't be able to enjoy the Fringe or the Olympics because, as I say, I'm trapped in the boot of this car. Actually missing a trick, aren't they, at the Olympics, not introducing escapology to the roster. Anyway, I'm gabbing on, and there's not much air in here, so I'm going to introduce today's guest. It's a musician, songwriter, producer and artist, Andrew Hung. Andy is one of the founding members of the electronic drone band Fuck Buttons. He's also released 3 solo LPs, Relationshipism, 2017, following that up with Devastations in 2021, and most recently Deliverance in August 2023. You might also know him from his brilliant soundtracks of the films Greasy, Strangler and An Evening with Beverly Luff Linn. He also co-wrote and co-produced Beth Orton's album, Kidsticks. Today Andy talks about keeping up momentum, how he approaches making music, why painting is like eating a Sunday dinner, annoying the uni art department, working on those soundtrack albums. Of course we talk about feeling old, and a bit about the changing landscape of live music, and naturally we eventually get on to speaking about Season 2, Episode 6 of The X-Files, entitled Ascension, which continues the story of the preceding episode where Scully has been kidnapped by a disturbed alien abductee Dwayne Barry as Mulder races to track her down. I've not spoken to Andy for about a decade, so I was really pleased to catch up with him on this very laid-back chat and hear what he's working on at the moment. He's a really warm and engaging person to spend time with, and I do apologise that I'd had to cut 20 minutes off the end section of this podcast, but to be honest, that was mostly me going on a diatribe about the recent film Civil War, and no one needs that. Maybe I might do like a follow-up podcast episode at some point with all the stuff that didn't make it in. As always, if you like our show, please do leave me a message, subscribe, review, follow us on X, Instagram and YouTube. In the meantime, if you hear a strange noise coming from a passing car, please don't walk on by the other side. Here's Andy. Did you get a chance to have a watch of the episode?
I did watch it, yeah. Did you watch it?
I've now watched it. That's about my 4th time watching it.
Well, that one?
Oh, yeah. I remember watching it the first time round, and then I'm watching them all again, just to reacquaint myself. And then I thought I'd watch it. I'd just have a brief run through yesterday, and then I watched it again before we chatted. But it holds up. It holds up. Anyway, we'll get on to that. Yes, I mean, I always start by asking like how people are. So, I mean, how are you in yourself?
I'm good. I'm very well. My girlfriend's gone off to New York for a month.
Oh.
She went off yesterday. So that comes with its emotions, but it's fine. It's totally fine.
yeah. You can leave dishes in the sink a bit more, can't you?
Yes, I can.
Do you live together?
Yeah, we do live together. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. What's her background then? What's she into?
She's a music manager. She's been running her music management for a while now. She manages me, and
Yeah, I bet she does.
she does. Yeah, exactly.
It's not a bawdy chat. I don't know why. Oh God.
You're so bawdy.
I don't know where it's. Do you know? For some reason, I feel so much more like I'm turning into Bernard Manning for some reason. Yeah, I'm sorry. I can only apologise. There's no borediness. It's a family. It's a family podcast. But okay, so she's over there for work, is she?
She's over there for work. Yeah.
So are you going to get a chance to? I mean, one of my questions is how how you spend your days, and if you have a kind of set day. Is it like a set day for you, or is every day different?
It's I would say it's different every day.
Yeah,
quite a bit. But then at the same time, every day does tend to merge into each other as well.
yeah.
So I guess there's a limited set of activities I can partake in every day.
Right.
But I guess it varies within those limitations.
Yeah, and good. I guess what I mean is do you approach, let's say, writing an album or writing music in the same way each time? Do you sit down and you think, right, I'm going to start with the drums, or I'm going to start with this guitar line, or you think I'm going to sit down and write about this theme, or is it a case-by-case basis?
The way I've been approaching albums for the last 3 albums I've done, I've recently realised is that having a goal-orientated work is a lot easier to do.
Right.
But with my last 3 albums, I haven't had a goal. The only goal was a very vague one in making music that I liked.
Yeah.
And so, because of that vagueness, they've been it can be quite like wandering around quite a bit. But with that comes a lot of discovery.
Yeah.
So it's kind of swings and roundabouts. But with my own stuff, there is a lot of pottering about physically.
Yeah.
But when I'm making a soundtrack, for instance, that's very sort of more direct, I guess.
Yeah, because I read an interview where you said that you'd asked Jim Hoskin to give you some parameters.
Yes.
You say that's fair.
Yes.
Yeah, and I guess when you're creating on your own, there's not so much of that. I mean, do you know? Does there come a point in each song where, and I know that there does, where you go, that's it, that's done? And is that different for each song, or is it like, does there come a point when you go, I don't need to add anything else to that? And is it different each time, or is it the same each time?
I guess because there's no goal.
Yeah.
It's kind of it can continue indefinitely, which can be extremely frustrating.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can go, yeah, okay, that's done. But for instance, I'm working on a track at the moment, and I know deep down that it's done.
Yeah.
But there's a part of me that's like, right, keep working it more. See what happens.
Yeah. And does it? Is there a part of the record label going, Andy, mate, we need an album from you this year? Or is it entirely guided by you, where you're thinking, right, now is a time where I can make another album? Or, how much is it a kind of day job, and how much is it you just let your creativity go wherever you want it to do, and you can say, I'm not feeling it at the minute, you need to give me some more time?
There's no pressure at all from the label.
Yeah.
I guess, although I guess there is a pressure to output stuff consistently.
Right.
I think that's always been the case, actually. I don't think it's a new phenomenon, but I would say that it's a lot more. I guess it's more of an identifiable pressure these days because of things like social media and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I guess momentum has always been important. So there's a pressure from that side of things, which isn't from any sort of party involved with the record, but it's definitely there. I certainly feel like it's really important to keep consistently making stuff for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
for your audience, and also, I mean, I always feel like it's important just to keep sharp.
Because you obviously, you paint as well. Is there? How does that manifest itself in the day? Do you take time out? If you're working on a track, get frustrated with that. You think, I'll paint now, or I'll do something else, or I'll go for a walk. Does that help at all? And does that feed back into the music you're doing?
I reckon it would. I'm trying to integrate it a lot more into my life.
Oh right, yeah.
Because at the moment it's just whenever I finish a record. Well, the last 2 records I've finished, then I was able to paint for a few weeks afterwards.
Right.
So I haven't had a consistent practice in art. Like, I always thought it was something I'd do when I was retired, but
Yeah.
I think that's now. So I kind of. So yeah, I'm trying to integrate it a little bit more. I'm not sure how, but yeah, for sure it will definitely feed into. I think when you do different activities, they always give you different perspectives.
Yeah.
And I think painting is. I think because we're all not naturally perhaps, but we're all trained. I think we live in a very visual society.
Yeah.
So painting and anything visual would naturally give you a lot of feedback, which I think is important in gauging how to solve problems, which is, I guess I see all these things as like solving problems.
When did the self-portraits you did for the albums get made then? Were they being made sort of at the same time as you were making the music, or did you get to the end of the process of making the album and then do the painting in each case?
Yeah, I finished Devastations, and then that was the second album, and then I wanted to do a painting for that album cover. And then the third album, Deliverance, I tried to get like a photograph done, and I spent about like 2 weeks taking the same photo of my face.
Oh right, for some reason I thought you were going to go to like a family portrait place in Brixton.
I should have done that.
Yeah, have yourself made up like a cowboy or something.
No, exactly. No, I should have done that. That would have been better. Yeah. But no, I just stayed in my living room for about 2 weeks, right. Just like taking the same photo over and over again. I wouldn't say I'm a good photographer or anything, but I wanted a photo done.
Yeah.
But it wasn't working, so I went back to. I just painted for a week, which I loved painting.
Yeah.
And yeah, one of the paintings that came out of that 1 week period of activity ended up being the cover. But yeah, that's how those happened.
Is that what you practiced? Was it art school then? Have you always been a painter, or did you dabble in lots of different media when you were there?
Always a painter,
yeah.
But I think there was a huge part of me that wanted to. Yeah. So what happened? I was always painting, yeah. But then, so I did a foundation course, and at the end, I was about to stay in Bristol, but then a lot of my mates were about to leave.
Right.
I got really dismayed that very day when I was doing an interview to get onto the degree course after that foundation.
Right.
And at the interview, I said, I don't know if I want to be here.
Tick.
I know.
That's the sort of person you want on the course, though, isn't it? Oh.
I was the only person who got like a cross next to their name.
Oh God. Yeah.
So I had to, So for that foundation, like I'd always been painting, but for that foundation course, you were encouraged to dabble in other stuff.
Right.
So I went into video making, but I had to go back to painting to get back onto degree course after getting rejected from that first interview to show my what was the word? Commitment.
Right.
They needed me to show my commitment. So painting comes quite naturally. So I did that. I did like I had like a period of 2 weeks where I had to show my commitment, and I did just bashed out loads of paintings in that period. But I haven't gone back to painting since that time, which is back when I was like 19 or so, and I've only just recently returned to painting. But it does seem to be something that comes naturally, which makes me not drawn to it, which is a funny thing I need to figure out.
Right.
But
that's interesting that you're sort of putting it at arm's length in a way. What does it feel too easy for you to do?
It feels too easy.
Right.
It's like how it's like, I don't know if it's I don't know why it is. Because the image that came into my head just then was when when you save the last thing that you like to eat on the plate.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that's a good thing to do, right? Because it gets cold and
also you're full by that point.
and you're full by that point, right?
Yeah.
Should you eat the thing first?
Yeah, or sort of integrate it along the way. So add a bit of sausage, a bit of broccoli. That's it. It's a good out easier.
Maybe it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be so strategic, should it? But I've always been like that, right? Just save the last thing until the end. But
yeah,
I'm starting to wonder if that's the correct strategy.
Yeah, it doesn't like. It's funny you approach it like that because the painting doesn't seem. It seems more free, you know. It seems like just an outpouring. And not obviously there's technical skill there, but it feels like you've just gone at it, and this is where it's gone, rather than it being a kind of. It doesn't seem calculated, in a good way.
Yeah, I'll have to think about that.
So you're making these videos, but that's how you start making music, though, isn't it? On Premiere, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
that was a. So how did you go about using that then? Like basically just using the timeline to cut up samples and that?
Yes, and then using a bit of footage as a measure for a bar.
Right.
I used Premiere, then just slowing and speeding up samples to create different tones.
Yeah. Where are you from? Kidderminster? Is that? I mean, I'm getting this off Wikipedia, but. Because I don't know. I have people I know on this podcast.
Where are you from?
I'm from Chesterfield, which is.
Of course.
I'm trading on being a northerner,
of course,
but it's not the north, because when you drive to Sheffield, it says "Welcome to the North." So I'm a Midlander, you know.
Do you think you're a Midlander?
Well, officially, yeah, but you know what? I live in Edinburgh now, so I'm a southerner.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I'm a southerner to everybody here. So I really have to. I try to use some of the dialect. I say "I" a lot. And what else do I say? Just the inflections, you know, and pal. I say pal a lot. I just about get away with it. It's like, well, it's not London, is it? So you're all right, pal. But no, it's Chesterfield's. It's definitely not in the north.
How long have you been up there for?
About 4 years or something now.
Have you?
Yeah, it was funny coming back because I did various shows up at the Fringe, and then you go to where you used to flyer on the Royal Mile, or you go past places and you remember something happened there, or you saw a comedian there, and there's such a muscle memory of oh god, I died on my arse here, or something worse happened there. And it took me a while to get, and I don't really go into town because I live in Leith, so I don't really go into
Ethiopia. I've heard.
Is that what it's? Is that what it's called?
That's what it's called. Yeah.
Ethiopia. Yeah. Well, it's all changed. It's Hackney vibes around here now. It's all coffee shops and 3 Michelin-star restaurants, and
Is it? It's not gentrified.
Yes, it's not train spotting vibes anymore, unfortunately. In fact, I did a bit of work with Irving Welsh recently. He came on a Zoom call, and I was, trying to ingratiate myself with Irving Welsh by saying I live in Leith. And he went, "Why?" Just went, "You live in bloody Miami now, mate, so don't give me that crap."
Have you still been doing the comedy?
No, I've not done it for about 8 years. I had a really good end point where I did an hour show. I felt really happy with that. and then I did a great last gig, just sort of 20-minute gig, and then it was like, right, now what? What do I do now? I'll just go back to doing the same thing. And there was part of me where it's like, oh, to be good at anything is that 10,000 hours thing, innit? If you want to be good at the piano, work at 10,000 hours. If you want to be good at stand-up, you've got to be doing it for 10,000 hours. I just don't think I gigged enough, or I enjoyed the process of gigging enough. And I had this thing where it was like, I worked out the ratio of good gigs to bad gigs was like 1 good gig to like 13 bad gigs.
Was it serious? No.
Yeah, oh yeah. And it was like, but you cling on to that 1 gig because that good gig was so good that you go, this is my crowd, I just need to find this crowd.
Oh, wow.
And then the rest of it was like, driving to Plymouth and doing like 10 minutes and people going, I don't know what you're doing, mate, this is dreadful. and you just, I just couldn't, for my own mental well-being, I just couldn't, I didn't have the energy to keep it up.
How long did you do it for?
I did it for about a decade. Did it for about 10 years.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. And the funny thing is, I'm still in touch with a lot of people who still do it, and it's the people who are doing really well now are the people that we knew would do well back in the day. Right. Where you go, oh, you were brilliant, when you were just doing it 6 months in. So. And as the nice people did well, so that's good. It's annoying when a dickhead does well, because you go... But, so it's odd.
Did you make a decision to not do it then?
Yes, but I never wanted to do a, public announcement. Like, I had a friend... Right. And he said, you just don't tell anyone you're stopping, and then you haven't stopped. So theoretically, you could come back. But there's a bit of it, like... The first episode of this podcast, I had Henry Widdicombe on, and he runs Machynlleth Comedy Festival, which is basically like Sundance for comedy, but in Wales. It's amazing. They take over this whole village, and everyone's on there. Stuart Lee and loads of good young comedians, Mark Watson, people like that. And he's just come back to doing it after about 10 years off. And his thing was, he feels like a recovering comedian. He feels like he can. He never. He's always one step. He's only one phone call away from doing a gig, and that's what I feel like a bit. Where it's like, there's a really good open mic night just down the road from me on Leith Walk. It's great, and they have really odd acts on doing really weird stuff, and it would be so easy for me to just go on and do that and do 5 minutes. I think, oh God, but I don't want to, because it's destructive, for me to get back involved with it. Or
is it?
I don't know. I'd want to do. I guess I thought of it maybe thinking about coming back to it to do hours. Do an hour show here that's more sort of theatrical. But the route to that is doing gigs. And I find that whole process very sort of addictive, but also kind of dispiriting as well, actually. Maybe we'll come back to it at some point.
That's a tough gig, isn't it?
It's tough. And the funny thing, we had I had a guest on here recently who passed away quite recently, he was a sort of open mic legend, Darren Maskell, and he used to do these wacky things where he was a fishmonger. So he'd come on and do this whole act about being a fishmonger in Harrods, and it's the most pointless place to be a fishmonger because everybody's on holiday, so they don't have to buy cold, wet fish, fresh fish. And he'd do this routine with a coat hanger, and he'd dress up as a woodlouse, and he was just a genius. And he died recently. I went to the funeral, and there's all these people I used to do comedy with going, who were going through the same thought process of oh God, this is this is going to be the first of these, meetups with dying comedians,
Bloody hell.
And it was a nice send-off, but it was the back of the church was comedians who knew him, weird comedians, and then the front of the church with all his family who were who the fuck are all these people who turned up in bright red suits? So it was odd. It was nice. It was a nice kind of disconnect, but yeah, I don't know. I try very hard with this podcast for it to be me just moaning and going, oh, it used to be good back in the day, didn't it? But I don't know.
Just give into it.
I mean, what's the firstly, are you gigging much at the minute? And what does that look like with the album? Because there's a lot to the album, and would you need to build a band, or can you do that on your own, perform it on your own? And when you are out and about gigging, what's the sort of... This is 3 questions. Let's answer that one first, and then I'll get on to asking if you feel like you're part of a scene or not.
I've been gigging, and it's just been me on my own with a little setup and then singing as well.
Right.
It's been good. I went on tour last December. I went on tour supporting Blonde Redhead.
Oh yeah,
and it was really fun. I was just on a train going around the country. It was lovely.
yeah.
It's different to what I've been used to, but I found it really enjoyable. I was quite I was a bit apprehensive at first, but it was really fun.
Yeah, is that when you say it's different to what you used to? Were you used to travelling around in a van and having
exactly? Yeah, and not thinking.
Yeah.
Although this was like not thinking in a different way, like. I didn't have anyone else I had to answer to. I could leave whenever I wanted to, and it was really lovely. I didn't feel like, there's I guess there's swings and roundabouts to travelling solo, but it was nice.
So you don't have to be in there. You weren't travelling around with them then. You don't have to be forced to make. I'm sure they're lovely people, but you weren't forced to make conversation in the back of the van constantly.
No. I joined right at the end of their tour as well.
Right.
So they were already kind of like, they were at the end of their tour. Would be the accurate one, the nice way of saying it. They're lovely people. But it felt like I was joining once they were ready to go home, I think.
Yes.
By that point.
Fair enough. So you turned up Mr. Jolly. Like,
no, not at
good
all.
Vibes.
Well. I didn't. I was kind of like. I think I was a bit too polite actually. I didn't. So for the first day, I didn't even go into the green room. I didn't want to disturb them, and I think it was. I'm not sure which one, but they were like, "You can come into the green room." I was like, "Okay, thank you." But then the second day, I went to the green room. But I didn't want to. Yeah, I didn't want to get in their way for some reason. I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Will you be gigging anytime soon again, or are you just purely you're just working on some new stuff now?
I'm working on new stuff, but I think I'm ready to gig whenever I can, but it's not something I'm actively pursuing. It's kind of it's kind of a weird time to gig, I think, at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get out to see as much music as I'd like to, but
it's expensive.
Yes, I mean, what did I go? Oh, this is sad, Dad. I wanted to go and see Tool, right? Manchester Arena, and it was like cheapest ticket was like 220 quid.
No,
and I was like, "You're joking?"
That's a festival.
Exactly. I was like, I used to pay. Here we go again. I used to pay about 200 that amount of money to go to Glastonbury entire weekend, and it's not like I love Tool, but it's like, what are you getting for that? Are you going to get?
Did you pay for that?
No, I didn't go. I refused to go. I used to go because the thing, I took my mother to go and see Ghost, and I only listen to like metal these days because otherwise I feel sad. With your stuff accepted. You know, I enjoyed listening to all that reacquainted myself with all that last night. I was like, oh, maybe I can start listening to music again. It's not just like, extreme death metal. But yeah, took my mum to see Ghost, and that was only 50 quid, and that was like a major rock concert with like costume changes and fireworks, and a giant bloody demon came out. I was like, outrageous. 220 quid. And he's got his own vineyard, that lead guy, so he's not short of cash.
I'm not sure the performers are getting the lion's share of those profits.
No, right. Yeah.
I'm not sure they are. I'm not sure. But, it seems the ticket price seems to be going up, and we're getting, I don't know, it's kind of quite odd. I think we're seeing repercussions. You know that period after COVID where people were scrambling to play live?
Yeah.
I think we're seeing repercussions of that now.
Yeah.
Like, I think we're seeing the effects of that now.
I was just going to ask you before we get onto some X-Files chat about you going back to Hong Kong annually. Is that something you still do? And have you got folks who live there?
No, well, I did go back to Hong Kong annually pre-COVID.
Sure.
But I haven't been since 2019 or so. I used to love going there. I'm trying to. The family are trying to get back out there at the moment.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not sure if when that'll be.
And are they based in Kidderminster?
They're based in Kidderminster, yeah. My folks, yeah.
What's that like growing up around there? I've got no concept of what Kidderminster's like.
I used to get like a racist comment every week, and I used to think that was normal.
Right.
And then I went to Bristol, and I used to get a racist comment every half a year. I was like, okay, this is better.
Yeah.
And then I came to London, and I can't remember the last time I got one here, actually.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, it does happen for sure. But Kidderminster it's a small town. And I guess I didn't go to school there, so I don't have that much of an attachment to it. Although there was but my parents had a Chinese takeaway there.
Oh, did they?
They did. They had a Chinese takeaway there, and I used to work there on Saturdays. So I'd work in the morning. I'd work prepping food, cleaning, like scrubbing the potatoes and then turning them into chips.
Right.
And then once I'd done that, I would go off to the local laser quest where I'd hang out.
You've really painted a picture there.
I know. I got quite
Wonderful.
good. I got quite good at laser quest during that period.
Seconds count.
Yeah, exactly.
Really good.
But hung out with So it was basically an arcade. So I hung out with people there, and so that was kind of my link to anything local there. And there's also a basketball court down the road from where I lived as well, where I used to hang out with the local kids as well. So I met, there is. I think it's like a lot of places. Most people are like lovely people, but you do get all sorts as well.
Yeah. Have you folks still got that restaurant then?
No, but it's still there.
Is it? Right.
Yeah, I haven't seen it recently, but yeah, they got rid of it when I was about. So my gran died when I was about 16, and she was the one who looked after me whilst my parents were at the takeaway.
Right.
But she died, and they sold up the takeaway around then as well. So when was that? That was maybe 30 years ago now. 30 years ago?
I know, time's passing.
Fuck! I'm old, mate.
I know.
We're old, aren't we?
Yeah, but
look at us talking about gigs as if we're actually going to go to any. It's not going to happen, is it?
It's so bad because I work with a lot of young people, and they're out every night, going to see this, that, and the other, talking about Boy Genius, and I'm trying to ingratiate myself, and it's Grandad. What did I say? I can't go off on that tangent. That's a 15-minute story, but every day I embarrass myself. I just have to go. You just told me. Oh well, I tell you, I've told this story on the podcast before, but I'll just tell it you. There was we're talking about podcasts we listen to, and someone in the office said, I would never listen to The Rest Is Politics because it's old white men chatting crap, and I don't want to listen to any more old white men. And I was like nodding along, and then I had a text from my boss about 2 hours later going, just checking you're okay. And I went, sorry, what? And she said, just comments earlier about, old white men. And I was like, no, that's not me though. I'm not one of them. Don't put me in that box. I could not believe it. I told my partner, and she was like, she had to go and have a lie down because she loved it so much. Because she sees that I am trying to desperately keep hold of any kind of youth that I've got.
Right, I see. Yeah.
which is like so hard. So the tight jeans have had to go. Sometimes I forget because I've got like so many old band I've got this Full of Hell t-shirt, right, and it's like a Mersbow sort of thing, cross thing, and I put that on the other day and I totally forgot, and then someone asked me about it and I started talking about it and I heard myself talking about like Six Music Dad, well, do you not know Mersbow? Oh yeah, that really went into sort of spiel, and I was like, oh fucking hell, mate. Just die. Just die. Start acting your age.
I heard that we're young old people now.
Oh right.
So you get old young people, so people under 40, and then over 40 we're young old people.
Right.
And it's kind of ringing true for me.
Do you feel old though, or
well? Okay, my body is definitely more sensitive to things. Like I can't eat certain things now, and my sleep is a lot more. Yeah, my body is different for sure, and it's only going to deteriorate more. And it was not something that I thought about when I was younger. Like, it takes so long to heal now. Like if I get a cut or whatever, or for instance, right, I said cut. But I didn't want to say this. I had a zit the other day, right?
Yeah.
Zits take ages to heal on my face.
Yeah. Don't squeeze it.
Don't squeeze it. You can't now. The blemish lasts for like months.
Yes. I've got a whole it's like American Psycho around my house. The stuff I put on my face.
Oh really? I start doing that too.
Yeah, I have. The oil, whatever it is, it's all bulldog stuff. It's all stuff that's been sold to me as like it's okay to wear moisturiser, So I'd whack that on, and then this moisturiser and various sort of and if you got a zit, then whatever this acid stuff I put on, and goodness knows what. But it's just the upkeep, isn't it? It's just
the upkeep is a lot more. Yeah, it's more important now. I need to exercise now. It's not something that's an option anymore.
Yeah, because I heard that you were because you're doing a lot of dancing, aren't you, these days in videos? So that's.
I want to get into dancing.
Yeah, you're very good at it. You're very good
you.
at that when I saw you, and I was like, this is what I feel we need more of.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's given me some motivation to make more videos. So
that's good.
So I can get some dancing in it.
Amen to that. Let's move on to a bit of X-Files chat. This, we're going to talk about Season 1, Episode 6, Ascension, written by Paul Brown, directed by Michael Lang. It is kind of a follow-up to the last episode. And in essence, Scully has been kidnapped by alien abductee Dwayne Barry, and Mulder's got to find out where she's gone. And I'll just say right off the bat, I absolutely love this episode.
Oh, do you?
Well, let's get into it. But first off, what's your relationship like with the X-Files? And do you have one?
I did. I have one. Yeah. It was hard to avoid growing up.
Yeah.
X-Files. It was a huge show, and there wasn't any. It was like, I guess it was like the Twilight Zone of our times, right?
Yes.
But yeah, it's. I do have a very fond memory of the X-Files for sure, and I have to. Yeah. Go on. Sorry.
No, go on. What are you going to say?
I watched this particular episode, right?
Yeah.
And I have to say, it's a little bit disappointing because.
Oh man.
Because.
Go on.
Scully wasn't in it.
Oh yes. Yes.
She's a big part of it for me, but.
You'll have to watch some more. Do you know what? That's totally my bad. I just thought I purely looked at it from a sort of filmmaking, TV making point of view, where I like, right. You kind of, it just hits like the clappers. It's like, it does what a lot of stuff does in season 2. So they can just launch into making it a finely tuned genre exercise. But I totally hear the fact that I'm missing out on some serious Scully time in this. She does go through the ringer in this season. You know, she's abducted by aliens. She's abducted by this Dwayne Barry. She gets shot at a lot. She gets involved in a heist. A lot of stuff happens to her this season. I just love the opening to this, where it's like the voice message on the phone. And she doesn't say, Mulder, I'm being abducted by Dwayne Barry. Who you've been investigated. It's like, Mulder, first off, Mulder, something strange has just happened. And I was like, yeah, as a check, as always. And then, Mulder, I need your help. And then he rocks up at her house after she's been kidnapped, and has this kind of clairvoyant thing where he puts 2 and 2 together, almost like he's like Sherlock or something like that. He's going, oh, I know exactly what's going to have happened here.
He is kind of a Sherlock character, right? Because, I mean, he's the one who's able to believe in these incredibly outlandish theories.
Yeah.
And that's and I guess the reasoning for that is because he's so discerning, maybe.
Well, it's funny because he's treated by a lot of folk in the show. He's sort of treated with kid gloves, and he's very, very volatile, and he is kind of open to stuff. But I like the idea that alongside that, you've got Scully's faith, Scully's Catholicism, and in this, Mulder's gives Scully's mum back the crucifix that he's got, Scully's crucifix. So there's this all the way through. Scully's this kind of skeptic and the sort of flip side of what Mulder's thinking, but she's also got her own belief in what happens, and that's kind of, I guess, in this episode particularly, it's kind of a big part of it.
Are they both? They're both skeptics, right? Like she's more of the sort of conventional skeptic. But then he's the one who says, trust, or what is it? Question everything, right?
Yeah, deny everything, yeah. Which pops up at the beginning instead of the truth is out there, you get deny everything come on the screen. It's quite interesting in this episode because he's confronted, after going through the entire series of saying aliens exist, aliens kidnapped my sister when she was young, he's then confronted by this character Dwayne Barry, who says he's been abducted several times by aliens, and it's almost like Mulder doesn't believe him, or he's confronted by someone who believes something so much that he's a fanatic, and he sort of sees himself in that character a bit. So there's a nice realization for Mulder in a way there, because the rest of the episode is basically him running around, from one location to another. I mean, also, you've got some great music choices in this, which I really liked. Which
what
chat about. Get Dwayne driving in the car to Red Right Hand, Nick giving the bad seeds, nodding along,
that's right, yeah.
Which is really vibing to that. And I forgot to Google beforehand if this episode came out at the same time as Dumb and Dumber, the Jim Carrey film, because it's used in that as well. And I wonder if at the time Nick just went, just license the shit out of that. I'm sick you just use that as much as you want, because it really feels like the music's not used like that in the rest of the show. It's, you get Mark Snow's score and different variations of that for different episode, but it's quite he's listening to the radio and then you listen to a quite pertinent song. So that's quite an interesting choice. But I mean, did you what a lot of people think the music reminds them of Garth Marenghi, but what did you think of the music throughout it?
Oh, that's I felt that scene when he's driving. What's his name? Dwayne Barry.
Dwayne Barry, yeah.
His I felt like that scene was really Twin Peaks like.
Yeah, right.
Those bridges and that scenery and the music as well, and I thought it was is incredibly cinematic actually, that bit.
They do kind of shot from inside the car as well, watching the policeman pull him over, and then it pulling back from the TV to show Mulder and someone at FBI headquarters watching this dashcam footage. And I thought it reminded me of like Cops, that TV show.
Yes.
And I wonder if that was like a big thing at the time where everybody's watching Cops, so we need to have a kind of nod to that. It does that quite a lot, actually, as in its run, the X-Files, where it's like thoroughly embraces whatever's happening in popular culture, which I quite like. But yeah, I totally get the Twin Peaks thing. I think that's certainly.
Who do you think are the people who make those suggestions?
What to get Nick Cave in there?
I've been watching Big Trouble in Little China. Do you know that film?
Oh yeah.
I've been watching that recently, and apparently that was the Golden Child was about to come out with Eddie Murphy, and someone at TV studios was like, "All right, we need something Asian themed." So they got John Carpenter in to do this film, right?
I remember the Golden Child being quite bad. Actually,
it is bad.
Yeah,
Golden Child's shite, but Big Trouble in Little China is brilliant.
Yeah, well, John Carpenter's aging, isn't he? Like a fine wine. He's one of the, we talk about people aging badly, but he's really doing the opposite. He's like playing his video games, making his music, just being a cool.
It's good, isn't it?
And then you get when the camera pulls back, and they're looking at this footage in FBI HQ. You get one of those classic Mulder speaking to the technician to say, right, let's magnify that times 10, magnify a bit more, let's see what's in the back of the truck, magnify, oh, it's Scully, there's definitely Scully in there.
I was sure he was going to say enhance. I was absolutely certain he was going to say enhance at that bit.
Yeah, no computer screen works like that at all. So that was a wonderful moment.
I tell you what, that bit when he was in the car, the cable car, I found that equally. I understood his motives for speeding it up, but at the same time, I thought, you're a dick.
Yeah. Totally off the wall, that scene.
It was
the like cable car technician was like, I can't stop you from going up there, but. And I was like, well, you can.
And he shows his gun.
Showed him his gun. And then he gets it, and he was like, also, you need to know there's a problem with the cable on the cable car. It's like, you had one job. Like, don't go in it then. And I was like, and then I did a bit of research about how cable cars work. I'm sure that no cable car on Earth works the way this cable car works.
No
I
fucking
don't
way.
think you can. No, I don't think you can speed it up from the individual carriage. It's fixed to a bloody point, isn't it? It's fixed to the cable. So the operator at each end can stop the motors. But at one point, Mulder takes over. He's like controlling the speed. It's like, and then we have to get him out when Krychek.
It was like a volume control as well, the speed.
Yeah. It's fucking going faster. And then he's got to climb out and do this kind of Steven Seagal shit. To sort of climb out, and then it gets dark very quickly, which is mad. And I mean, I really like. What I was going to say is this. It's just got everybody in it. You've got, well, not Scully, sadly, but everybody else. You've got Smoking Man, smoking at the table. You've got Mulder, you've got Skinner, his boss, you've got Mr. X, the informant, you've got Krychek. I mean, the only people who's not in it is Mulder's friends, the Lone Goodman, who was sadly missed. But it really is like a tick list of everybody they could possibly wheel in to this. And
I was reading why Scully wasn't in it.
Yeah.
Do you know this?
I do, yes.
Oh, okay. She was pregnant, right?
She was pregnant, which makes the scene where she's on the alien lab table even weirder.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. I was like, what are you doing?
So that's real, right?
That's real, yeah. And then they shoot a lot of when she's in it, some of the other scenes, she's relegated in the other episodes to working in the autopsy room and being shot from the belly up. So you never see she's pregnant, and she wears big coats a lot of the time.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I remember.
So they kind of shoot around her. But yeah, very strange scene of her having what looks like her having a belly pumped up, which is very strange.
It's very well lit as well.
Yeah.
So no sort of like no imagination needed. You're just it is quite disturbing actually. Think about it, yeah, because it just flashes up as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things like this where, as a kid, I just sort of took it on face value, and then you revisit it and you go, with hindsight, that's, like you say, really horrifying. I had the same thing with Seven. I watched David Fincher's Seven recently.
I watched that recently as well.
Again, fabulous. But it really disturbed me this time around. I guess because it just really sort of stuff like the guy strapped to the bed and the lust victim, and having your partner's head cut off, put in a box. Do you sort of go? I don't know. You're watching that as a sort of teenager, going, without any kind of life experience, and then I loved that, and I loved the kind of really honed in on sort of Morgan Freeman and his flick knife. I thought that's such a good device.
Oh yeah.
How's he going to open this box at the end? Flick knife will retro engineer him needing to have this flick knife. You see that right at the beginning. He's throwing. It's like, why is he throwing that flick knife at a dartboard? Just because he needs it at the end. Oh, wonderful! Well done, Fincher. Really good. And of course, back to this episode. Really love that Mulder loses it in the interrogation room with Dwayne Barry. That's great. Strangling him. That's fantastic. Like I say, thought Krycek is very good looking in this. It looks wonderful, and he has a little chat about sleep deprivation in the car. Really like that. Name checking. Sleep deprivation was responsible for Chernobyl. I like that little reference. My favourite thing in the entire episode was the scene with Mulder and Skinner, and Mulder's laid all this evidence out to Skinner, his boss, about why Krycek's a double agent, why Krycek's killed the cable car guy, why there's this whole conspiracy behind Scully being kidnapped. And Mulder bats storm out, and then Skinner goes, "There's only one thing I can do. I'm reopening the X-Files." And I was like, you would not believe it. Like I said, I watched this 4 or 5 times before this chat. I punched the air every single time. I was like, yes. It really reminded me of, in the Day-to-Day, where I think it's Day-to-Day, where they do a spoof sitcom set in the Bureau de Change, and it's sort of in the style of EastEnders, and Steve Coogan's playing the boss, and he goes, "There's one thing for it. I'm closing the Bureau de Change for an hour." And it really, the same sort of delivery as that. I loved it. I was like, of all the things that Skinner could do to try and help out, he's going to do the one thing that they really are scared of. He's going to reopen the X-Files. And I was like, yes, of course you are, man. Brilliant. Really wonderful. Do you think this has kicked off, rekindled your love of the X-Files? Do you think you're going to revisit it some more and maybe watch some ones where...
I didn't realise it was all available, actually.
It's all there.
It's all there.
It's all on 4-player, whatever they're calling it these days. It's all on Disney+. So if you've got time on your hands, if you've got 218 time on your hands, 218 hours on your hands.
Is that how long it is?
Yeah, this is a fool's errand I've taken.
It's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, it's almost too much.
Is it too much?
And it feels like they're almost repeating themselves sometimes. There's an episode coming up where Mulder and Scully get trapped in a Norwegian trawler boat and start aging, and then at the episode end, Scully says, "Oh, what's happened to the boat?" And someone says, "Oh, it sank." And then it just ends. And there's a lot of that going on where it's like, oh, we lost the evidence, or Mulder's shot the main culprit, or it's like, and how kind of exasperated can you seem, Scully? And how doubting can you seem because you've seen so much stuff by now. You've been impregnated by an alien, potentially. It doesn't really wash you going, Mulder, ghosts don't exist. It's like, they probably do. just accept that they probably do now, and then let's just all move on. Because I feel like that'd be a far more interesting show by that point if everybody just accepts that paranormal activity happens, and we just have to call in Mulder and Scully like Ghostbusters. But I'm not writing it. Maybe we'll get in touch with Chris Carter, although he's signed over the rights now. But. So you will or you won't. You're gonna think about it.
But I haven't. I'm working my way through Star Trek at the moment.
Oh, fabulous! Right from the beginning, original series.
Right from the beginning, I'm working my way through DS9, which I've never seen before. Have you ever seen DS9? Are you into Star Trek? I'm not sure.
Vaguely, in the same way that I'm into Doctor Who, i.e., not really, but right. I will dabble. Yeah.
But I was a big fan of the Next Generation stuff, but I've started watching DS9, which is really kind of it's been good actually. But yeah, so I've got my focus on that at the moment. But,
I always felt like Star Trek was quite actively political in a way that other shows weren't. And then when you get to DS9, there's a lot of trade chat. Is it fair to say that?
It's very There's a lot of what's the word? Diplomacy.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is very admirable, I think. Yeah. Especially in today's age.
Yeah.
Being able to speak with that diplomacy is something I greatly admire, because it's something I lack. But
yeah, that's nice. How much of that is there then? How many episodes of the entire run of that is there?
I guess there's 7 or 8 series with about 21 episodes each. So similar to X-Files, right?
I mean, now you've said that about Star Trek, I don't feel so bad about X-Files. I feel like it's manageable in a way.
It is manageable.
I feel like there's so much going off in Star Trek. There's so many different worlds and so many skirmishes, and everybody's got an agenda. Like you say, fair play. If everybody wants to come to the table and debate it, great. But there's a lot to it, isn't there?
X-Files. I'm going to get into that, I think.
That's a soundbite for the next trailer. Right.
Believe Me is written and edited by me, Chris Boyd, with production support from Steve Marshall. The music is by Johnny Boyle, and our logo is by Russ Brown. If you like the show, please do hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll see you out there next time.